I've been in a committed, loving relationship for most of my creative career. Despite a 2-year affair with Sony, it's always been about Canon cameras. But there's been one sexy camera body that I've always had a bit of a fantasy about. And now, I've gone and bought one. Leica is the Rolls-Royce of the camera world. Even though many non-photographers I spoke to hadn't even heard of them, they're iconic, almost mythological within the industry, perhaps as much for their price as the images they create. A 1923 version, the Zero series, sold for a bonkers $2.9 million in 2018 to a private collector, making it the most expensive camera ever. Second, that was also a Leica, a steal at just $2.6 million. Their modern range, though, will still set you back a pretty penny. The S3 medium format camera is £16,500 for the body only. You'll want to have another £5,000 in your savings for a lens. The M11, the latest in its rangefinder series, is £7,500, so not for your amateur snapper then.
The M10D from 1930s, monochrome 35 Elmar, Leicas.
My introduction and first taste of Leica was a few years ago, and bizarrely with a smartphone. My iPhone was away for repair, and in a rare and brief trial away from Apple, I played around with the Huawei P20 Pro. The pictures it produced were mind-blowing, thanks entirely to a dedicated black and white lens, a 27mm f1.8 made by, yes, you guessed it, Leica, who worked with Huawei on some of the image processing software on the 20 megapixel sensor. I wasn't taking photography particularly seriously at the time, but it sparked something in me about black and white photography and Leica. After I went back to my iPhone, I tried so many ways to try and recreate the look of that Huawei Leica camera, all without success. As it turns out, just slapping a black and white filter on doesn't do the job. There was something magical, the sharpness, the contrast, who knows, I really can't explain it. But I stopped chasing the Leica look and just got on with my life. Until now. As I started getting more into film photography, Leica started popping up more and more. I started looking on eBay and Facebook Marketplace to see if anything was going cheap, but most of the stuff was still in 4 figures. Occasionally models would pop up for £500, or there'd be £300 bodies with no lens, which is quite an important part of the recipe. There were a few older deluxe models available for less money, but to be honest, they look a little bit like, dare I say it, cheaper digital cameras. Then I found just what I was looking for. But what was I looking for? I wanted a Leica that was focused on photography rather than video, that had classic Leica looks, dedicated dials and not plasticky. Something that would be good for street photography. Digital over film because I wanted something inspiring that would give instant results while I waited for my other 35mm rolls to come back from the lab. And, rather importantly, something that wouldn't leave a Leica-sized hole in my bank balance. So I ended up with this. The Leica X1. The X1 had the biggest APS-C sensor ever put in the point and shoot when it was released in 2009, along with its large price tag of $2,000, making it the most expensive compact camera on the market by a huge margin. But it might be the classiest compact ever made, with its minimalist design, leather trim, metal dials for shutter speed and aperture, a 35mm f2.8 lens and a 12 megapixel sensor. Not to mention this wonderfully vintage case. Look at it all, it's beautiful. I imagine you're wondering what this $2,000 camera cost me in 2022. Well, the answer is in the year if you sort of take a number out. This Leica was £220. But what does a £220 camera buy you in 2022? Is it just a shoddy old digital camera with a red blob on it that can't live up to the photos on your phone? Time to do some shooting. I love a massive clock. Looking at the photos, there's definitely some magic in there that you don't get from a smartphone. It's hard to define, but it's definitely a vibe. Even straight out of camera with JPEG film presets, the images look incredible, which apparently they didn't at launch, but there have been some firmware updates that have fixed that. The X1 does also shoot in RAW, so the editing options are fairly endless. There aren't many Leica X1s going for £220 these days. Usually they're 350 to 500 in working order. This one was a bit cheaper because it had a broken battery clip and a dead internal battery. That means you have to set the time and date whenever you take out the SD card or charge the battery. But it's a couple of seconds of my life. I have replaced the battery clip with a free part from Leica. Thanks, Leica. But that broke after a day, so I'll probably just live with it, and that's fine. But given these can still be snapped up for decent money, why wouldn't you? Yes, Leica purists might turn up their noses at an entry-level digital Leica, and smartphone photographers will scoff at paying hundreds of pounds for a digital camera they don't need. But it's a beautiful and minimalist tool that's discreet and creates instant, stunning photos. It's an entirely different and special process to pressing a button on your phone. It's more creative and rewarding, at least for me. And I love it. I'm planning on taking this pretty much everywhere I go, so I look forward to seeing the results from it. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, maybe give it a little like. If you want to watch some more, maybe subscribe and share on social media, because that's really helpful, and maybe like ring some bells and stuff. Really does mean a lot. Thank you very much, and maybe we can do this again. Always awkward ending these, isn't it?